Oh no, I still have hate in my
Yeah.
heart for Paddy Pimblett, and
Yeah.
I live to see him fail and disgraced
Yeah.
in the UFC. It's probably what I'm looking forward to the most. So let's jump into it. Let's welcome back, everybody. I'm not sure where I'm going to edit into here for our opening, but this is our yet another episode of the Fight Plug Weekly, and this is our special breakdown episode of UFC 277, Pena versus Nunes. But before we get too deep into that, Pena versus Nunes too, by the way. But we are going to do a really hopefully fast recap of UFC Fight Night London, Blades versus Aspinall. We were already talking about it a little bit right before we started recording, but yeah, card didn't quite deliver like the last London card did back in March.
Oh,
that was a banger,
to
but
say the least. Yeah.
but you could argue that like the fights that mattered most, at least to the UFC's pocket, definitely delivered.
Sure.
Really sad. We'll start at the top of the card. Blades
Maybe,
Aspinall.
or they did in Aspinall. I think that's a fuck.
Mhm.
That just I didn't realize because like I wanted Curtis Blades to win. I was rooting for Curtis Blades to win, believe it or not.
Mhm.
I kind of deep down in my heart thought, but it just came out looking right away like, damn, this is gonna be fucking sick.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
For as short as it was, just 15
Mhm.
seconds, you really got the sense that we missed out on what could have,
Shit
what was
was
probably going to be
looking violent.
a heavyweight classic because they came to
Yeah.
chuck them early.
Yeah.
And I mean, it feels dumb to kind of like judge either guy with, in the 15 seconds
We
that
did
we saw.
after we did it last week with Ortega and fucking Yair.
Did that fight go a full, like, did that go around?
It went like 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Or
It went,
something
yeah.
like that.
I don't know if it didn't get out of the
Which is
first
a
round.
long time. Which is for any fight. I mean, I guess for a normal fight, like on the streets, like go fight someone for like 3 minutes and see how long that shit is.
Yeah, in the streets, I imagine they
Yeah.
usually in the streets they probably look more like Aspinall and Blades.
Yeah.
We're looking at shorter fights.
I would.
But yeah, even in that relatively short 15 seconds that we saw, it looked like Blades was landing better or was a little bit more
He
accurate.
hit him with a 1-2. He
Yeah.
hit him with a nice 1-2, and then I think when he hit him with that, there was like a legit facial expression from Aspinall, like "Whoa, what
Yes.
the fuck?"
And Blades
I
made,
think you saw that too. Huh? He kind of made like his head shot back, and he's like, "Whoa, I just got fucking hit with something that was pretty clean."
he had an expression that was like, "Oh, this is a level of power that I haven't felt yet."
Yeah,
Or at least I haven't felt going that fast.
Right.
Because one thing that stuck out to me that Blades mentioned in the post-fight press conference was that he was saying like, I don't get where all these people are talking about how he's so fast. Like I was in there with him and he didn't feel fast. Like I feel like he was about to. I think he even mentioned like it seemed like he was starting got flustered early on by how fast I was, and maybe that's not the case. I mean, it's a bit fast to say that. Oh, it was he was starting to get Tommy Aspinall's head, but and Blade said that he has no intention of waiting around for him at the rematch, which makes sense. It's kind of dumb that they would even ask him that.
Not when you're. He's significantly farther along, and he's done significantly more with the UFC. He may not be talent-wise. We'll probably never know now. Sadly,
unfortunately, yeah. I think somebody said it was an MCL tear.
That's not the best. Yeah, that's not the best one.
Which I don't really know the difference between any of them.
It's like MCL or PCL, ACL, I believe. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna. I barely know enough about MMA and start talking about fucking.
We need to get a doctor, like a doctor segment, so they can like join us and do injury reports and stuff. No, no. The only thing I don't know the difference between any of them or how quickly one heals more than the other. But I have heard of some guys like tearing like both an ACL and an MCL and stuff like at the same time and possibly coming back within the year. I don't think it's. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't have too much of an impact on his athleticism moving forward. But man, you could definitely see it in his face. Like the expression that I saw on Aspinall's face when he was on the ground wasn't, "Oh, like this hurts so bad." It was some of that, but I think it was more disappointment. It was like, "Fuck!" Like that was the face of a guy who was worried for his career in that moment.
Yeah, his pops, dude. His pops was just like, "Fuck." Like, damn, dude. Which, whatever, you know what I mean? It happens, dude. It sucks, you know. I don't know him personally. I don't really know too much about him personally. He looked like he was on the trajectory to be a good fighter in a division where they need good fighters, so that sucks. You know, it sucks that, you know, I think for MMA, but it's crazier to see, especially in a main event setting. But like you watch like football, like that shit. It's like once a game or at least once a week. Like someone huge gets hurt crazy like that, and you're just like, oh shit, it'd be like that, dog. So,
yeah, and it doesn't have as much of an impact to us in those scenarios because you know, they'd walk, they get taken off the field, go take a seat somewhere, and then the game continues. You know what I mean? Like the game doesn't, the whole game don't stop for one player. Whereas, you know, unlike these fights where there's just one guy on each side,
just derails the whole card. I mean, the whole card, even though it wasn't the best card, like Paddy Pimblett had just did a great thing. Molly McCann had a great finish, and then it just felt gross. And like I felt sad today. I just kind of felt like I read back about it to see what it was because I didn't hear about exactly what it was, and this is the first time I even hear about it. I didn't see. I guess I didn't look in the right spots, like to kind of follow up.
Co-main event shenanigans. Jack Hermanson gets a unanimous decision win over the late replacement.
Wait a minute,
Chris Curtis.
What just happened? I was in the middle of a fucking
point,
and then
I thought you were done, dude.
I was all in the middle of a point. I get it.
I don't know if maybe I'm not listening and I'm just waiting to talk. My bad.
Yeah.
Go
on. Shut up. You're okay. Shut up. No, I just feel bad, dude. I just feel bad. It just sucks. Mm-hmm. It just really sucks.
Yeah, you and everybody else. Some point. Anyways,
yeah.
I'm just kidding. Is that the point you were trying to finish that you felt bad?
No, I wasn't. But I just figured I would just leave it there. Yeah,
wrap it up. My bad, dude. I didn't mean to step on.
Fuck me, man.
Well, I'm trying to keep these episodes tight. Our last episode
I know what you mean. It was like 2 hours long. That's what a friend of mine was like. Really, dude?
Yeah. And I like that. I like that for my podcast. Like for someone who listens to a lot of podcasts, when I see a long one, I'm like, ooh, I don't listen to the Joe Rogan Experience anymore. And that was always like one of the longer ones that I would see. Like sometimes, like fuck, they talked for 3 hours. Like that's content right there.
My favorite ones go like 6 hours. Like some of them I have like that go 6 hours.
You listening to Hardcore History or something?
No, it's like they do a certain aspect of history and stuff. I'll send you a link to
co-main event. Jack Hermanson.
Beautiful, dude. Dude, I gotta give it to you, dude. I gotta give it to you. That shit was genius. You just walked me right into that, dude.
Too much of a silly goose time. All right, let's actually transition to the co-main event. Though we're not going to talk about it very long. Jack Hermanson, Chris Curtis. Funny fight. I don't think anybody was expecting K1 Jack Hermanson to show up and win this fight this way.
Peter Arts showed up.
Yeah, it was like Bangkok ready Jack Hermanson. Yeah. It's like somebody told Chris Curtis before the fight started. It's like, hey, if it stays on the feet, you're winning, like guaranteed. and then he took that literally because he didn't
Yeah.
he didn't really show much urgency until pretty much the last round. But even then, he just couldn't reach him. Like the lateral movement of Jack Hermansson was too much for him. Started to get really frustrated at the end. Threw up the birds, kind of made an ass of himself. What did you think about the way Chris Curtis composed himself?
That was it. It was surprising, and then it wasn't because it just. I think the one thing, I guess, as far as you shouldn't do that. You just shouldn't do that. That's just never a good, a good thing to do. But I think the one thing that it really showed me was just like the UFC is fucking like hard. Like that shit is hard because Jack Hermansson, like he's a pro's pro, a European legend as far as like MMA goes, and which is great. But I think Chris Curtis was surprised that like fuck this guy is like legit like that. And it's like, yeah, dude, I'm a professional. This is my fucking job. Like This is what. And I think he got caught up in like, nah, dude, you're supposed to stand here and I'm supposed to sock you up and then you're going to try and take me down and then I'm going to like elbow you. Like, why aren't you doing this? This is what I like played out in my head.
When are you going to turn into a panic wrestler?
Yeah. And then Hermansson was like, nah, dude, I'm a professional. Like I've been doing this for quite a long time and I want to win. I'm not going to embarrass myself. And, I'm sure, being on like late notice, like it wasn't super late notice, but it was late enough to where, I mean, it was a genius game plan. He carried it out. You can tell he's a professional, fucking workman, fucking, he didn't owe anybody anything. He was, they had set it up Hermansson versus Till to where like the guy wasn't gonna like completely give Till a hard. It was a fight made to kind of like showcase there until I feel like
it really was. And when you look at the game plan that Jack Hermansson brought against Chris Curtis, that really makes me wonder, like, was that what he was going to try and do with Darren Till also, and then he just decided to roll that into Chris Curtis, or was that stand-up game plan something that he decided to switch to just for Chris Curtis? Or I don't know. It
was professional, dude. That was a workman. Like, show up, fucking punch the clock, fucking cash out, and go see the kids. Like, that's all. That was can't hate on that, dude.
Yeah, less than ideal circumstances for Chris Curtis, as far like you mentioned about like having to get ready for this fight on short notice. Even though he fought pretty recently, so he might still be relatively fresh. But you still get the sense that Jack Hermansson's game plan was going to give him problems no matter what. It paid off. Unanimous decision. Yeah, okay, on to the unofficial main event of the evening. Paddy Pimblett, Jordan Levitt. This fight got the biggest pop. This was probably the show stealer, the marquee fight for a lot of people. This is probably what a lot of people were tuning in for.
Right.
Jordan Levitt, like a lot of, like I keep saying, the word of the day is a lot apparently. Jordan Levitt performed like as I expected. He came out. They seemed pretty evenly matched. There was a lot of mention about Jordan Levitt seeming to have a strength advantage, which was,
he did look strong. He fucking picked Paddy's ass up.
That was perceivable. He slammed him a few times. This was always like it didn't take long to realize like, okay, this is a decent test for Paddy Pimblett, but he's not in danger at any point because even like Jordan Levitt wasn't really able to keep him down as far as I can remember. I haven't rewatched the fight, but at no point did he offer or mount any kind of like real offense aside from like some decent teep kicks on the feet to like control distance. But it was a lot of takedown attempts, some of them successful, and ultimately nothing that's going to put Paddy in danger or get him any closer.
And
to getting him out of there.
Even in that first round, that Levitt like arguably could have won, or they were saying he won. Paddy was trying to stop the fight, like he had him in a couple of like pretty like compromising positions. Attempts where he was at least trying to end the fight, whereas Levitt, it was like he was trying to increase or better his position, but he never felt like, okay, what he's doing is trying to end the fight. At least Patty was on the back foot and defensively trying to end the fight, like trying to do the most damage. In every situation, Patty was trying to do the most damage.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's what they tell us is what we should watch out for, right? Like as far as scoring a fight, like who's trying to end it, who's trying to inflict the most damage. And even in the round that Patty arguably lost, he was trying to stop the fight. He was trying to hurt his opponent. So, and he looked powerful from range. Like it wasn't exactly the most polished striker we've ever seen, but he looked like he can do some damage if he hits you. He's got some power.
Yeah, when Paddy Pimblett decides to punch, it really does look like he's putting everything into it, which might not be the best like down the road for when he has to start going the distance with guys. It might behoove him to like preserve his gas tank a little bit more, but maybe that's not an issue. Maybe that weight cut visually is only like a visual.
He looked good
factor.
too. He looked fucking jacked.
Yeah,
he looked great, man.
But he always does
awesome.
though. He always looks chiseled when it's fight time. He's never. I've never seen him look bad.
Did you see him grubbing on the post fight? He had like a sandwich, and then he had like some like nachos right there, and he's just like, yeah. I guess that's part of his deal now. But.
Yeah, I try not to watch anything Paddy Pimblett unless he's in the cage.
Talking.
Yeah, no. Once the cage door closes, I'll tune in. Otherwise, no.
He's a good fighter, man. He's not a joke. He makes himself. He's doing himself a disservice. I feel like. To how good he really is, and I don't think he'll ever truly get the credit that he deserves if he does, because you can see it there. There's the foundation. He has a good judo foundation. He's always in good shape. But I think he might be one of those guys where he doesn't get his due because of his outward appearance and what he does.
Yeah, his polarizing kind of like personality and stuff. But yeah, like you mentioned though, and one thing I've noticed about him too is that he has good like just situational awareness in general. To know that knee was there for him, that like kind of started the finishing sequence when they had kind of been in that position for a little bit. You know what I mean? And I mean we didn't see it. It might have been because of the camera placement or whatever, but he has a really aggressive offensive grappling game, which I could appreciate.
He does,
whenever he has his hands on you, he's about. It seems like he's about submission over position. He's not just looking to get a dominant position and ride you out or ride the round out. Like he wants to strangle you, and I appreciate that. I'll give him props for that. Yeah, and
you really do. When you go back and think about it, you're like he tries to win these fights. He's not like laying on the guy and hoping to get a gimme triangle or a armbar. He's fucking working to win. He's working to strangle this person, and you gotta, like you said, you gotta fucking admire that.
Yep. And we talked about it a little bit earlier. I'm not sure if it'll make it into. I don't know if we talked about it before or after the intro, but what he mentioned about mental health awareness and suicide awareness and the post fight, that was all good on him. Like. Props for that, for speaking out about that. I think a lot of people can identify with that, and like we mentioned earlier, everybody knows somebody who's or everybody's lost somebody who from that method. So yeah,
unfortunately, yeah, that's true.
Props to Paddy Pimblett. They celebrated big with his teammate Molly McCann. Teammate, I don't even know why I'm calling him teammate. As far as I know, they don't train together or anything like that. But I don't foresee a time. And we'll get to the Krylov Gustafsson fight, but we'll just go straight to Molly McCann, Hannah Goldie also. I don't see a time in the future where these two aren't fighting on the same card. Do you agree? Paddy Pimblett and Molly McCann. Are they just always going to be a package deal?
I think Molly
is this the first
might
package deal in the history of like MMA, like for people who aren't even in each other's training camps.
I think in WMMA, Molly might, just because it'll be a little easier for her to, or a title shot will come a little quicker for Molly, so she may have no choice to kind of have to fight off. Whereas Paddy's he's probably chilling as far as his weight class is concerned. Like he's, you know what I mean? Like he's probably like, I don't have any aspirations to. I mean, I'm sure he'd wait, and I don't think he'd be like, well. We got Ilya Topuria here, and then Molly's gonna fight on this one. What do you say, Patty? He's like, I'm good, dog. Like, we got any more of those weirdos? Like, He's gonna go to like Magic the Gathering, fucking like I'll take this guy. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
I have a feeling. Oh, and you know what? Let's rewind a little bit back to Patty because
sure.
I didn't talk about potential future matchups, but since we're getting into that also, yeah, Ilya Taporia. I know a
He's
lot of
just
people.
back there cracking his knuckles. He's like Molly's on that card too. He's the only guy we can get. And he's just like, oh fuck.
I know
Why not, dude?
I've seen a lot of people talking about Ottoman Azaitar because I guess that fight was booked
That was the
for
one that was supposed to be.
yeah for momentarily.
You know, Patty said nah.
Yeah, so I don't think that one's gonna happen. I want to say, I think Patty Pimlet might end up running into Clay Guida before he ever runs into Ilya Taporia or Ottoman Azaitar. I think that would be a really fun fight. After what, like one more tune-up fight.
I love Clay Guida, dude. But it's like, man, like I don't like meme fights. So.
I don't either. I want him to fight lightweights. I want him to, you know what I mean?
What's Arman Sarukian doing?
Armand.
What's that guy up to? What's that guy up to nowadays?
Sitting pretty at like rank number like 9, I think.
Yeah.
Because we know like we could fantasy matchmake.
Yeah,
for
he's
him all
never
we want.
gonna do it.
No.
That would never happen in Arman Sarukian. You wouldn't. Why would he take that fight? But
it's gonna have to be guys on the way out, or like nobodies, like more like Kazula Vargas is.
I think he's gonna be the new Sugar Shane, probably. Probably where he's just kind of like bottom feeding for a bit. Which, hey, you know, you do what you got to do. He's got a good podcast, right? A good YouTube channel. So I mean,
Patty sure Pimlet.
Yeah, he's got a podcast and a YouTube channel. That's not. The views look pretty good. I mean, better than ours.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Nikita Krylov, Alexander Gustafsson.
Yes.
This one we won't have to talk about for very long. It was kind of sad. I kind of expected Alexander Gustafsson to look bad, but I didn't expect him to look pathetic. And because he got straight ran through by Nikita Krylov. And I'm not one to underrate Nikita Krylov. That guy has a wealth of experience in the game. And especially if you look at, more people are familiar with Alexander Gustafsson and the high-profile fights that he's been in. But when you look at their records, 28-9 to 18-8. Nikita Krylov has been around the block. He's been in and out of the UFC for a while. He's been fighting competition. He's
fought this level. Savs too.
But even then, like if you look at the highs that Alexander Gustafsson has reached in his career, one might be a little bit surprised, or one might think that this fight would have been a little bit more competitive. I don't think either of us thought that it would be. And I wanted to ask you, and this is one question that I kind of like teed you up for a little bit beforehand, because it might require for you to look into his record a little bit. But who do you think broke Alexander Gustafsson?
Man.
I have a take, but I want to see if we're simpatico on this. Like,
I couldn't you did tee it up, and I really couldn't find an exact moment where it was in my mind's eye of what fight or what it was. I think it was just getting to I mean, of course you're going to say John Jones or whatever, but I think getting to that mountaintop, and I think oh man, and then it's a Hall of Fame fight. Everybody kind of goes back to it. When you really watch the fight, it doesn't look like it was as close as a lot of people thought it was. I think he gave everything he had, and he probably knew John. And then to find out John really wasn't even really trying. It was I gave everything I had. That's a Hall of Fame fight. And then homie came at me with 6 out of 10. And just having that in the back of your head. I'm sure, he fought DC. I'm sure that wasn't. I'm sure he just got to the highest level and then saw I have nothing for these men. I just really don't.
Yeah, I could imagine if you were. If you've been on to the top of the mountain before and you got knocked off badly and you don't feel like you have it in you anymore to go for it, hey, I tried it and it's not there.
Do you think it's since that's happened, since the moment he was broken, do you think every time he goes to the gym or he goes to a workout session and he's at home and he's leaving, do you think it's almost when you're a little too drunk, or the guy's a little too drunk at a party, and he's like, "Nah, I'm good, dog," and he like takes his keys and he like walking, and everyone's like, "No, no," and then like the girls are crying and they're like, "Don't let him drive," and then everyone's like, "No," and then he's like walking away. Do you think his family just like knows it's like he's a drunk driver and he's like gonna go 80 on the highway?
I
And
hope
they
so.
just like it's just his wife's pawing at the keys and he just keeps like holding it away from her, and she's trying to like get to the keys and he's just like, "No, I'm fine, I know what I'm doing, I've done this a long time, I can do this." And like everyone else is just like, "Nah, dude, like you're fucking drunk, dude, like don't take the wheel," and then he just drives off.
I would hope that they recognize that, because our boy's on a 4-fight losing streak right now.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's all been to a high level competition. John Jones, Anthony Smith, Verdum at heavyweight, Nikita Krylov. But I think the moment that Gustafsson was broken, and he's never been the same since, was when Anthony Johnson knocked him out in his hometown in Sweden. And this was a long time ago already. This is in 2015, so we're looking at like 7 years ago.
right.
But he got round one. He just got like laid out, like KO'd 2 minutes and 15 seconds into the fight. And I think like he's had good performances after that. You know, he has a unanimous decision win over Jan Blachowicz, and then he got that iconic knockout of Glover Teixeira. But I kind of feel like those were the exceptions to his downward like trend that he's been on ever since Anthony Johnson. He had a good fight with Daniel Cormier right after Anthony Johnson, but I feel like it was that fight, because that was the first time we had seen Gustafsson just like blown out of the water, like just completely. And ever since then, it has been much more of a recurrence, where it's not that he doesn't have the skills to potentially turn it around and win fights still, but the armor was never quite the same after that. Like the weaknesses were always presenting themselves, and be it a mental thing, because I know a lot of people think it's kind of mental with him, which it might be, but I think it's just he's not active enough. I mean, let's see. Yeah, he's gone years, like a year between fights on the reg, and he hasn't fought since 2020 before this fight in 2020. This fight this past weekend. So, yeah, I think it's time to hang him up. Definitely.
If he's gonna win a fight, he's got to win it standing. You know, you do see a lot of like wrestlers or BJJ guys who can kind of like take longer breaks off, and it's not as hard. But like the striking thing, the timing, the hand-eye coordination, and at the speed and level in front of a crowd on TV.
Yeah,
that's got to be, kind of controlling your emotions in the moment. That's got to be a muscle that has to be worked out, I would imagine. And if you're not doing that, and then you just, okay, I'm gonna fight now, and it's like, I'm sure you gotta, as hard as you can train with as many killers as you want in that gym, but it's a lot different even when it's a guy that maybe not in the title contention, but you've got to have that hand-eye coordination working in that rhythm when you're doing it. If that's how you're going to win a fight,
yeah, you cannot lose your pep in your step, especially. And it's hard to see a guy start slipping at light heavyweight divisions where you're really going to pay for it with your brain.
Sure.
Because like oftentimes they're already a bit slower to begin with, so if you start losing your reflexes and your chin is starting to go, like you start to become a highlight reel. So
great point, dude.
Yeah, tough one. We'll see if we see him again. I still think there's some fights for him there within the top 15 of light heavyweight. I mean, who knows? Like we saw Andrei Arlovsky like 13 years ago, looked like he was on death's doorstep. Like, this guy can't keep doing it, and now he's still like fucking beating Father Time.
Another good point, man. Yeah, we talk about Andre but he should be held up as a example to guys like us. Like, hey, man. But I think Andre, I don't know. You kind of get the feeling that that's kind of almost all the homie has. Where Gus kind of, it seems like he's a family man. He and I could be, who the fuck knows, but it seems like he kind of like something is keeping him away from being as like, he just doesn't look like someone, he doesn't strike me as someone maniacal, you know, and he might just want to like. And there's no, he seems like he's an articulate guy. He's a well thought out guy. Like maybe he could be a coach, or you know, like a good coach. But you know, I think we were talking about that in the last episode, like who would be a good fighter to coach. And now after seeing it, I think he might be a good coach.
Not sure. I was just trying to think. If
okay, Molly,
ever seen any? I don't know if I've ever seen any instances of him coaching. But you might. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong or anything like that. One thing, another thing before we move on, last thing I wanted to mention was he looked sluggish. He looked kind of hobbly, even in the ceremonial weigh-ins, like stepping onto the scale.
I didn't see that.
Stepping onto the scale, it was just something that looked just flat out unathletic, like he was struggling, and that's a bad that's a bad look, because like I could understand that if it was for the official weigh-ins, because they're like literally on like dehydrated as fuck. But for the ceremonial weigh-ins, for him to look so sluggish stepping onto the scale, like that was concerning.
I didn't see that. That's a good nugget, dude, because that's a good point by you, because I do sometimes on the bigger ones I will look like. Usually it's like on MMA Junkie, where they kind of I'll keep like my left eye on it, you know, on like a Thursday morning, just to see like, okay, and then everyone came in, all the fighters came in, so I didn't really like look at it, because there's usually as sad as it looks, you almost every card that like homie looked or homegirl looked like a little sunken in, drawn back, and so you kind of want to like, as that sounds gross to say that, but like. Like when we had just had Charles. I like watched it and I was like, "How did he look?" And then we were noted like, "Oh, he looks surprised," you know. So that's a good catch by you, dude, to see that, because you can really. It is telling to see guys when they're struggling to make that weight and they look a little off. It unfortunately can carry over.
Last fight we'll talk about on this card. I have a question for you. Is Molly McCann? Do you think she has the potential, or the most potential, of any WMMA fighter currently active in the UFC right now, of actually crossing over and becoming a household name?
No. Absolutely not.
Do you think that's just because nobody is at this point in time, or is somebody else ahead of her, like for that potential?
For like the potential to be a household name, or like
not saying she's a household name right now, but like if anybody has a shot at becoming a household name, because I don't think there isn't a
WMMA household name, dude. I don't think.
I mean, other than Ronda Rousey, that's the only person, that's the only WMMA fighter I know that's kind of like truly broken through.
If she would have stayed in MMA though, she would not be a household name at all. Like people, I think it would have been like what we saw with like Gustafsson.
I was about to say the same thing. She probably definitely would have fallen off also. But like, I think you only have to become a household name once, you know? And you know,
good point.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's like
outside of lose, like, because you like in this house, in my goddamn household, Amanda Nunes is a fucking name that everybody knows. But no, I just, there's a lot that goes into being a MMA. You have to be good on the mic, and her shtick is it only plays in certain rooms, and it played in the room she was at very well. And to become a household name, like, because I don't know, like, I just don't see that playing after like a Houston like card. You know what I mean? Like, just got done, and you know, I don't know. Sometimes they fight in like Memphis or Nashville. I just don't see her shit playing. Like, you know, call me crazy. The one thing I did like though was that she's like, these motherfuckers came out on this card and they look like shit. They should be embarrassed. And I fucking came out. Remember who didn't? I came out and I fucking gave you this shit. You motherfuckers are out here sitting out here singing and drinking and having a good time. And she straight up pointed it out. And like a lot of those, like Chikadze looked like shit. There was a lot of guys like
Paul Craig.
Paul Craig.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys look, Nathaniel Wood looked great though. I'll say that right now. Like we don't have to break it down, but I mean he looked very good. But yeah, she straight up called out everybody. She's like, everybody up until now looked like fucking shit. Remember that I came out here and I fucking gave you guys a good fight, and I came out here to end it for you. I love you guys. Thank you. And so that was great, and it played good in England. But like, that's not gonna play like, and not to say like Nashville, Tennessee is any better than London. London is it's the like a heartbeat of Europe. You know what I'm saying? But to be the UFC is the game that is in town, the game that she's in, and you have to play. I think Conor McGregor could go to fucking Des Moines, Iowa, and just light that motherfucker on fire. Whereas I just don't see her shit playing to it. But like, I'm crazy.
I know. I can see that. I kind of agree. I feel like it's true. Like, I would say she does have the most potential, but only by default, because I don't feel like anybody else is really like, okay, if this chick puts a win streak together, like, people I know who don't even really watch MMA are going to start talking about it.
I think Weili Zhang, but I don't know what people think of. Like, to me, like, that's someone like I think about every day. So like, but I'm a sick fuck. I'm a weirdo. So
for the violence factor.
But I think if like, I think the way Weili fights, she doesn't even really have to be as good on the mic as Molly has to, where she's just like so much better than the person behind her, and so much like stronger and freakishly athletic. That's something that like a lot of people, would respect more than someone who like can put it together against someone like Hannah Goldie or whoever it may be. But I don't think as she gets farther up to where she gets the household matchups, she's going to outperform them at such a clip, because it gets to the point where like, Connor got there, like he beat the shit out of Dennis Siver. Fuck yeah, dude. Badass on the mic. Fuck yeah, dude. And then everyone was like, yep, fucking badass. And then you fight fucking Chad Mendes. Okay, fuck yeah. Okay. And then Jose Aldo, and you're still, that shit's just like, okay, dude, you did it there. I don't think she can get to that level where the personality keeps up with the competition and the output that she does. I don't think it can, maybe because it is WMMA and there's not such a huge gap in talent, or there is such a huge gap in talent, and she's very good, very talented.
Yeah.
So maybe it'd be a lot easier for her. I think it's going to be a lot easier for her than it is for Patty. I think she'll be a little, as crazy as it sounds, she may be a little more relevant than Patty going forward.
No, I actually agree with that. I mean, even like taking into account selective matchmaking for both of them, right. Patty is he's probably going to hit a brick wall as soon as he starts to push up against that top 20 of that division. Like once you get into that top 20, he doesn't.
That top 20 is the top 4 in a lot of was better than the top 4 of a lot of it. Like you would say, like from 17 to 20 to 21 even. That's a fucking wild ass fucking division. And
then versus, you look at women's flyweight, and I mean, women's flyweight is getting deeper. I can name off a lot of girls there who make it an exciting division, but there is definitely some of the old guard still hanging on.
Right.
And Molly McCann could still kind of like make her name.
And she looks good. Looks good. She's fucking violent as fuck. And
I want to see Molly McCann versus Macy Barber. I think that would be a fucking tremendous fight.
Great point, dude. You're right.
Molly, and I mean, there's still like there's some Cynthia Calvillo's hanging around, and even Jennifer Maya. I think that'd be an interesting fight. Because
that was one that was brought up, and I heard, and I did not. I would not kick that fight out of bed for eating crackers. Dude.
No, I mean, keep her away from the Casey O'Neills and the Aaron Blanchfields and stuff like that. But there's a path for her to get just miraculously somehow get a title shot if they're careful with her. I don't think she has, and I mean, we don't even have to talk about what her shots would be against the top of the division. But
Patty and Molly won over hardcore fans, I feel like, with this. As crazy as it sounds, like the UFC wanted them to like keep that hype train going with casuals who fucking just shut up and take my money and I'll watch because this shit's crazy. But I mean, for me, I would consider, like I said it before, you a hardcore fan, me like a more, like a, like a more thought out casual. But they won over they won me over as far as like I have, like they don't give a fuck about me or my respect or whatever. But I was like, damn, like respect to these two. I did not think I would say respect to these two fighters.
Mm. I think we'll both still be tuning in to watch them lose. They got
well, every single time.
They got clown in their DNA, man.
Yeah. Damn.
Patty Pimlet is a court gesture. Will not stand.
Yeah.
No. You're right. Like, I mean, whether love him or hate him, yeah, it's must see TV. Especially if they keep on putting them on London cards, which for the foreseeable future, I don't see that changing anytime soon.
I don't see them wanting because they had it in March, and then I think before March it hadn't been there for like 2 years.
Yeah,
and then the two guys they set it up for, I mean, Molly's great, Patty's great, nice little side quest, but this was set up for Till and for Aspinall, and that shit just fucking crashed and burned. So I don't see, as much as they love Molly and Patty, I don't see them like tripping over themselves to like, can we get one in Manchester? What other cities will let us do it? I don't think they're going to be fighting over that.
With Aspinall, being out of commission for a little bit, Darren Till just not being able to get it going at all, and them really only being able to hang their hat on Patty Pimlet and Molly McCann in that neck of the woods. Yeah, you make a good point there.
And their fights away. They're not like Patty's not like a fight away.
Yeah,
Molly's not a fight away.
And you also really can't like what really, like, what attention grabbing name can you put across from them that is beatable for them, but also like going to really sell a card? Like, you really only relying on Patty Pimlet and Molly McCann to sell those fights, because if you put, I mean, the more recognizable the name across from them, the more beatable they are. So it goes,
exactly. It's a trap. It's like a weird trap that you gotta kind of like, they're gonna play the hand slow, but I think Patty, it's inevitable that he's just gonna have to fight someone wild. There's just no way around it.
Patty Pimlet, Clay Guida, a fight night card, dude. I am all over that. I'd be so stoked for that, because it's also not it's a tough ass test. That's a load of experience across from Patty. I mean, Patty's no slouch either at 19-3. It's not like he's like some up and coming prospect either. Like, he's been fighting for a while. But Clay Guida is also not a guy that you really have to worry about knocking Patty the fuck out either.
Yeah.
I'd be real. Ever since I thought about that fight, I've been stoked for it. I think one more fight for Patty, and then that might be the way to go. Catch Clay Guida like kind of on the tail end of his career and on the way out.
Good call, man.
But
that's why I consider you the hardcore of the bunch, and I'm just a filthy fucking casual.
There are no
you think that way, man.
There are no casuals on my program. Molly McCann is for what's next for her. Not sure. We don't got a match make for it. I think we should move on to UFC 277 because we are about 47 minutes in.
Nathaniel Wood and Ludovic Klein are dope. Those two fighters, low key good fighters.
Keep an eye out for them. UFC 277 happening in Dallas, Texas. They're going back to Dallas for this one. We have the rematch of Julianna Pena and Amanda Nunes, and at flyweight we have Brandon Moreno versus Kai Kara France, which is also a rematch. We got two rematches at the top of the card, and dude, this flyweight fight is going to fucking deliver. It's for the interim championship, and it's going to be so good. But I
love both of these guys.
Let's start at the top of the card though. Julianna Pena, Amanda Nunes. Amanda gets a chance to kind of like potentially show the world that it was flukish. Nothing about that performance was flukish in my eyes. I wouldn't pick Julianna Pena to repeat it again or to win again, but she won that fight fair and square. That was like the second fight that we ever covered on our show earlier this year.
Very sad.
seeing it come back around. I haven't been watching any of the Ultimate Fighter, so I don't really know how things have been heating up for them on the show.
Forgot that was that was going on, Doc. Sorry.
I've been hearing that Julianna Pena is a great coach. It sounds like Amanda Nunes isn't doing so great as a coach, be it because of the performances, and then just also, I don't know if that means she's just been kind of checked out.
What Amanda Nunes does, I don't think you can teach that. You're like, God gave you that.
Mm-hmm. I never took too much stock into who's the better coach on the show, because it never really ever translates into like what's going to happen in the fight,
right?
Or at least it doesn't seem to. But what's your prediction here? Do you think Julianna Pena is lightning going to strike twice?
Julianna Pena's gonna die in that cage, dude. I'll look stupid as fuck. I have nothing against Julianna Pena, like you said. That was awesome. As you know, as crazy as it was to see that, as shocked as I was, there wasn't like, that didn't happen, or she didn't deserve that, or it was not a fluke. You just hope and pray that it's not like that. One of the hookers that Dana picked up was a gypsy and has cursed him, and it's going to be another fucking, like Dana didn't tell her when he was done, and then she's like, oh, she gave him the gypsy curse as like security was like pulling her away, and like now every fucking fighter's getting hurt. But I think if it goes the way it should, and it didn't last time, but and then from what they're saying is that Amanda Nunes is like jacked. She's been a mom now. She was like a new mom then, and she didn't carry the child, or but she, being having a more of a domesticated family life with being a mom, and how all that goes and your life changes, to now she's probably had more time to like figure that out and how that works and sort all that part of her life out, and then translate that into being able to work hard in the gym. They're saying like she's been in the gym 24/7. She transferred right from ATT to her own spot, so this is the second time the second fight with the new team, or newish team, right?
It's her new team, but I think it's to be the first one, because she left ATT after the first fight with Julianna Pena, after she lost the title. So,
I see.
Yeah, this will be the first time we see like the fruits of her labor with a whole new coaching staff and everything.
And maybe that was on her mind, like this is the last time, maybe she already had one foot out the door before the fight. Like who really knows? Maybe, and so I guess in my mind, I'm trying to find ways to like, give myself that, I guess, justify why I'm such a fucking homer for her to like win this fight, how bad I want her to win it.
Yeah,
it's just like, hey, she knows what it's like to be a mom now. She's not one foot out the door at ATT. She's all in with her new team, and she's ready to like finish off her legacy and continue to win. And I mean, if you put all that together with just her raw ability, then she's gonna murder Julianna Pena right now.
Yes, I mean, 7 years of dominance, practically about 6 years. I could see. I mean, and with wins over Jermaine Durandamy, Holly Holm, Chris Cyborg, Valentina Shevchenko, like I could see if Amanda Nunes was potentially getting to a place in her mind where she kind of felt untouchable, or like you know what I mean, like she just felt like she can go out there and eat whatever shot that Julianna Pena was going to throw at her, and then just kind of having a bad night and being reminded that you are not infallible. Like you are great, you're dominant, but you're not untouchable, or you're not unbreakable, and I would say the only thing, and I trust that she's learned that lesson. I'm sure she knew that going into that fight. Realistically, if
you really think about it, yeah.
But I think that the thing that gives me the most pause is that is the changing of the camps, because that's the thing, where we haven't seen what that's going to look like now that she's changed up her coaching staff and everything. So I don't really have much to even assess there. I'm not so I don't really know who her coaches are even going to be, or who's going to be in her corner for this fight. I mean, I'm pretty sure Nina Nunes is probably going to be, but yeah, I don't know. A lot of question marks for me for
and I think you and
Nunes.
It was early on in fights that we talked about with her, but I remember distinctly thinking like, okay, Amanda Nunes feels like, okay, I'm not just the best female fighter. I'm probably one of the best fighters in this whole organization. And I'm like fighting for time with my head coach in the back, and I really shouldn't be. And I think that if I had to guess, that probably, just for someone who, like you said, who's beaten everybody, was dominant for the better part of a decade, and she's like, hey, like, what should I do when I do this? And my brother, just give me a second here. I got all these, and I feel like, you know, not so much. She doesn't strike me as an egomaniac at all, but like that's got to be like part of like the mental psyche of like, I'm not even top in my fucking gym. I can, and I'm supposed to go out there feeling like I'm the best in this whole organization, which is what her goal is. I'm the best fighter in this whole organization, which, right or wrong, or you know whatever that is, I'm sure that kind of like was a subconscious kind of thing that fucked with her. Like, I'm not even top 5 in my camp as far as getting time to get from my coach, time. And who knows, I wasn't there to see it. I know you said that you followed them and pretty closely on social media, and you watch videos and so what was Lambert, how were they splitting time with her? She's someone who commands, right or wrong, again, was she getting the full like star treatment? And can you even really get the star treatment there?
You definitely got to pay up for it at American Top Team, is what it looks like to me. Because the mats at American Top Team in Florida are packed, and that's something that I've noticed before. I've seen like guys who are like, if you follow their social media and you like keep an eye on their training, like they're training, let's say under Mike Brown. Then once fight day comes around, let's say that they're like an up and coming fighter, they're not like the biggest dude, but they're in the UFC, they're potentially like opening the main card on a fight night or something like that, and then Mike Brown's not in their corner because Mike Brown was at Bellator cornering 3 guys, getting 3 paychecks versus 1 over with this guy. So like there is definitely, I'm sure that's potentially a factor of like, hey, like I got these coaches, I'm the best in the fucking world. There's no other, like I'm the female GOAT. I'm a double champion, in 2 divisions, and I feel like, and I have to deal with Kayla Harrison over here, like,
and Brazil
at my heels.
Huge. Yeah. Brazil is a huge fucking country.
Massive.
Brazil is a fighter's country. Like, that's as big as soccer is there. Fighting is like 1B, at least now for sure. And she's the best female there, and the biggest organization. And it's like, I'm trying to get this guy to like just help me out. Give me like 10 minutes, dog. Like, that's got to be kind of damn.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see if that comes into play. But I'm in your camp, like you said too. I think that this should be Amanda Nunes making it right, coming out and putting more steady pressure, and respecting Julianna Pena enough to know that she needs to also be evasive, and just not eat a slip jab over and over and over till she dies. I think regardless of the outcome, like not regardless of the outcome, but I think there's like 3 distinct scenarios that we see after this fight play out. One is that we're going to see a 3rd fight for sure, because there's nothing else. There's nothing else happening at bantamweight. There's not like a clear cut like number 3 girl. I mean, there's other prominent names of the division like Holly Holm still and stuff, but like she's all the way into like the Winklejohn, like Wallenstall style. She's not you get your Caitlin Vieira's, who I don't need to elaborate so much about like what isn't happening at women's bantamweight. And then in the scenario that we see Julianna Pena win again, we could see, I think would probably be the most interesting outcome, because then that means that Amanda Nunes has to just be a contender in the division. And it's like, what does that look like when she's
does she completely back out of that and just, or does she go back for the belt?
I don't know. Does she because there was a time where she had to pull out of a fight in the past because of a septum issue or something like that. And Dana went in on her and was like, she will never headline another UFC card ever. So it's like, I think she doesn't talk about it much. She's classy, she's professional. She's not going to like rail against the company while she is under contract, but she might be harboring some resentment towards the UFC in general. Maybe. I mean, that's a lot of speculation on our part, but I wouldn't be surprised if
we're doing a lot of that. We're doing a lot of that fan section. She was mad. Mike Brown scorned. Scorned.
For sure.
And we're like kind of like reading a lot into something which probably isn't as complicated as we're making it, but that's something to her that, like you said, like someone who's classy, because it's not written all over her face.
Yes.
She's not trashing people on the way out of on the way out, you know, in a press conference, like, and that's kudos to her for being classy about it, because I'm sure there is. I mean, as much as we're joking, like we might be kind of putting a little too much into it, I'm sure that we're not far off.
I think part of the reason both of our minds are going there too is because I think we both partially believe that to some extent Julianna Pena maybe got into her head a little bit. Maybe not even got into her head, but got under her skin, because
under the skin, not in the head. Right. Good point. Good. Yeah.
And so that's why I think, like, if it was enough to affect Amanda Nunes, or however much it did in that fight, like what else is going on in Amanda Nunes' fight career that she's holding on to? So I think that there might be a case where she still doesn't like Dana White for. And I mean, going back even further, when they were like, when she had won the title from Miesha Tate, and then they dragged Ronda Rousey's poor bitch ass out back to get destroyed by Amanda Nunes. And leading up to that fight, like, you couldn't find a promo of Amanda Nunes anywhere.
And to go back to the point of like her keeping it so classy, that was the first time in Amanda's career, before or since, that in the post fight she was like, "What the fuck was that? You didn't fuck. What do you want to do? You're gonna drag her ass back here? It's gonna fucking happen again. You bring her out here, it's gonna happen again. Don't fucking disrespect." It felt like, don't disrespect me that way. And that's the first and last time I've seen that. And she was like it felt like she was breathing, like, fuck, I fucking knew it. Like, you know, because I'm sure, especially like, like you or I have no idea what it is to be a mom, or, you know, an alpha female type person in that situation. But I'm sure they internalize things a little bit different than a man does. They're you know, they speak differently than men do. They interpret things differently. And when you have someone like your boss, where Dana can play those mind games with, he's been doing that to fucking BJ Penn and fucking Matt Hughes and fucking GSP, you know what I mean? And he kind of just goes with the same game plan as far as like playing mind games with his fighters to get the best out of them. It's worked and it hasn't, but I'm sure it probably didn't ring right in her head. Like, whereas some guys kind of think of it as like, that's just Dana being Dana, whereas maybe she was thinking that's a personal attack against me.
Yeah. And especially at a time when, I mean, Ronda put bantamweight on the map as far as WMA in general, but like, wasn't too many other girls out there who were literally plastering chicks and just like getting like brutal knockouts and stuff like that. So I can see if like you're Amanda Nunes at that point, it's like, what else can I fucking do? Like, I'm just out here brutalizing my competition, and I'm not getting the respect that's due. So, like, like, still probably a lot of speculation on our part, but that's what makes the fight game interesting, though. That's what makes prize fighting interesting, because like it's only you're and your corner, but at the end of the day, you're the only one inside the cage against your opponent. And like we talked about, like in stick and ball sports, when there's an injury, someone goes down, the game goes on. Otherwise, it's just you know, you are all of the mental strengths or disadvantages that you bring into the cage. So
Yeah.
I think I think maybe we're just trying to look for chinks in Amanda Nunes' armor to make this fight more interesting for us, because
I'm not. No
otherwise,
chinks in her armor. No scraps in her scrapbook. You know what I'm saying? Like she's this is an Amanda Nunes podcast for me. Like as far as for like where for different reasons, Joanna was like your female, like the horse you kind of rode in on with WMMA. Like Amanda's been like, just because I saw her, I didn't like Ronda Rousey, and she just ended that broad's whole fucking career. And I was just like, thank you so like you have a fan in me now. So I'm not going to turn my back on her, dude. And Julianna Pena is great. I think she's great. She's cool. She's interesting. She did the Rogan podcast. That was the one where like she out conspiracy Joe Rogan, where like he was like high as fuck, and she was like, I think in the vaccine it's literally like Lucifer himself guided the devil's hand and
so
through
much,
the sign. Yeah, and then like
so much.
And then Joe Rogan was even like, whoa, like fucking. And what was so crazy was like you said, like we don't really listen. I don't listen to JRE. As someone who like was someone who listened every week, to where I don't listen to it at all. I fucking I really like put that back on there because like he hasn't done an MMA show, and then I saw like I got the like Spotify notification like JRE MMA, and I was like, ooh, who is it? And it was like Julianna Pena, and I was like, he hasn't talked MMA. I think at the time it was like Jan and Sterling was like the fight coming up, and I was like, maybe they'll bring that up. I want to hear what he has to say about it. Like let's put it on. And then like her, she was just like, man,
she just went off the deep end.
Yeah, she just kind of went off the deep end, and it was like, and then to get that reaction out of Rogan to be like, whoa, where like she was just like he like gave her that. And like, dude, he's had Eddie Bravo's ass on that motherfucking. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, he just looked like a goddamn astronaut, and fucking goes off the deep end. And he was just like, okay, easy now.
So should be a main event full of intrigue.
She's gonna die.
Potentially a very short main event, but we'll see. Method, you're calling by knockout, I'm assuming.
I think it's going to be if like a unanimous decision, but just like not even like they shouldn't even let Pena walk out and like get her hand held by the ref. Like it's just
it out. Dang.
Like she's not going to want to get off the stall. I think that she's going to like 1-2 her and body like. Those body shots are going to be gross because Amanda Nunes takes shit personal, and there's nothing more. And when Amanda Nunes is going to the body, she's taking shit serious, and I think she's taking this shit serious. And Julianna Pena is going to get hit in the body hard.
I've noticed that in the world of WMMA, it seems to be a compliment for one girl to mention that another girl made them piss themselves with a body shot. Like I've heard Pearl Gonzalez say that. I think I've heard Misha Tate say that on a broadcast. Laura Sanko, even she's not a fighter, she's a commentator. Yeah. But they seem to go out of their way to mention that, like, oh yeah, one time I was sparring with her and she hit me, so I peed myself. Yeah, she hit me with a body shot. So that's what I'm gonna call Amanda Nunes. TKO win over Julianna Pena by body shot. It's gonna make Julianna pee herself.
That's why we're friends, dude. That's why we're fucking friends. Because when we start talking about like body shots, like, damn, anyone who fucking like is because you show me someone who loves to like kick or hit to the body, I will show you a fucking champion, and I will show you me. Fuck,
it's money in the bank, dude. It's money in the bank. Dude. And if we transition to our co-main event here, this is one where I think body shots are going to be a factor as we see Brandon Moreno take on Kai Kara France for their rematch. They last fought each other I don't have it in front of me, I'm so unprofessional, but it's been about 3-4 years.
Banger.
It's a really good fight. That was the fight that kind of put Brandon Moreno on the map for some people. Like that's, and for a lot of people, that's the first fight that they really noticed him too.
he took a right hand from Carl France in that first round that like put him down, but he jumped right back up real quick, and then he got right back out there. And like to me, that's when I saw Brandon Moreno. I was like, "Fuck!" He fucking took a fucking cocked back right hand from a fucking ruthless motherfucker, and he just got right back up, and he was like putting his chin out there, like, "Let's go, motherfucker, let's fucking," like he was fucking pumped.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing, and he's before that fight he had 5 round experience before the Kai Kara France fight, and he has it now.
Yes,
So,
he has almost like 13 rounds, consecutive rounds against, well, not consecutive, all of them, but against Davison Figueiredo. So he's no stranger to championship rounds now.
This isn't the water's not that deep for Moreno. And the thing, I rewatched the first fight, and the thing, it was so high level. And you just Kai Kara France is so high level with his striking, because he does this thing where it's like a jab, like a kind of a pawing jab, and then he sees what you kind of do off that jab, and it's either a stronger jab to the jaw or straight to the body, and then a right high kick. And he was fucking getting Moreno with that a lot, and then he hit him with that same little combo, and he went like he was gonna high kick it, and then hit him with that right, and it caught Moreno. And then in the second round, you just saw, and then he was calf kicking the shit out of fucking. Watch out for the calf. The thing that I think can neutralize this whole thing is that calf kick. But I guess we'll go into that later. But what I noticed in that first fight was he goes, okay, he's gonna paw with that first jab, so he came around with that left hook, and then he came back with a head kick of his own. And he fucking, it was the exact combo that would neutralize what Kara France did. And it's like, that is fucking art, dude. That is so fucking awesome. And then to hear them yelling at him in Spanish to do that, derecha.
Yeah.
And you're just like, and he fucking did it. I was just like, oh man. And then I watched that fight again. And then that's coming up this weekend. I'm so excited for it, man.
Yeah, I had to go back and rewatch that one too. It definitely deserved it. And I was trying to think of like what would Kai Kara France have to do differently to get a different outcome in this
Body
fight.
shots.
Body shots, but I feel like the body shots is what Brandon Moreno really started to turn things around with, in the second round of that fight. But I do think that would also be something to go for, because he really was mostly, Kai Kara France was really mostly just headhunting in that fight, where once Brandon Moreno came out and made his adjustments, he started to go through the body a lot more, and he started to throw in volume a lot more, and he started to throw that left high kick at the end of his combinations too. So
that high kick was right. I'm glad like you went back and watched it again, because like it's kind of fresh in our minds. That kick was fucking both of those guys. Yeah. But Moreno's was fucking sick.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it's probably, I can only imagine it must be so much more of an energy expenditure too, to be like, okay, now I'm also going to blast a high kick at the end of all the 3-4 punch combinations. But I think that was like what was really keeping Kai Kara France at bay. I mean, it's easier said than done. I almost feel like Brandon Moreno doesn't really have to change a whole lot to get the win in this one, because of that wealth of experience that he's gained since their first fight. And I think
confidence too. Confidence.
Exactly.
Like he's already a confident guy, and he's got to have way more of it coming into it. Whereas Kai Kara France should be more confident. He's looked amazing, but I think Moreno cannot get any more confident. And I fucking whooped your ass the last time.
Yeah.
I took your best shot, I adjusted, and I came out and beat you. And now, like, I'm like evolved. Evolved.
And it was like a career defining fight for Brandon Moreno up until that point also too. And like you mentioned, like we literally saw his confidence grow throughout that fight, and where he's been since then. It's going to be a tough one for Kai Kara France. I like him,
and he's one of the best in the world. Kai Kara France is one of the best in the entire planet.
Another Tiger Muay Thai affiliated guy, even though we know he trains down at City Kickboxing in New Zealand. But Kai Kara is dangerous as hell. He almost put Askar Askarov away in their fight. That was his last fight coming into this. That's how he earned this this title eliminator interim championship fight.
Dominated that. He looked great in that fight.
Yeah, and that was a fight that I thought Askarov was going to take. So I'm really high on Kai Kara France right now. With
He's
that
crispy.
said, yeah,
he's fucking crispy. And I think the one thing is knees, like clinch work and knees is where Figgy got to Moreno a little bit better, where he kind of kept him in the in close and knees. And I think Kara France has that in his toolbox, so it's not outside the realm of possibility for him to do something like that. And I think if we do see where he can kind of separate himself and kind of maybe something a little different is the clinch game, in close, in close striking elbows and, clinching knees, elbows on the way out, knees on the way in.
Yeah.
I think is a way that you can kind of keep him up against the cage and just get real bully with it.
Yeah, find better ways to set up that big right hand with other than just like a feinting jab, because that's what he was doing a lot to close the
it was pretty before. Though, and if someone tries to run up on me in the streets of expect a pawing ass little jab. I'm gonna see what the fuck you do. I was thinking about that driving home from work. I was like, God, that's genius. He throws a little pawing jab. He throws the hand up, straight left to the body. He kind of backs up. Then you fucking palm with that jab again. You know he's gonna put his hands up, and then you just fucking kick the motherfucker in the calf. You can tell that City Kickboxing, those guys, it's advanced ass fundamentals, and you can tell like when you see a guy like Volk get so good. He's just the fundamental. They're just so good at the fundamentals that they can work faster within that, and you can tell they're like, I need to do this certain thing to get to this next thing. He's gonna react this way, and when they know it, then you get to that Volk level, and so you can kind of see it in Kai Kara France where like he's looking to solve that puzzle, and when you get to the solution, you move that fast. And so it would be interesting to see is he going to take that max, or I keep saying max, that Volk level of to the next level where Volk kind of moved up in his career. You saw it, or is this about as where? And I think, like I said, getting in there gritty and clenching with some knees and some elbows is gonna kind of bring him a little closer.
I can't disagree with you there. I'm with you. I'm gonna go with Brandon Moreno by decision, but I think if Kai Kara France wants to have a better shot in this fight, he's gonna need to mix it up more and be first. Also, I think in the first round of their previous fight, Kai Kara France was making Brandon Moreno kind of be a defensive fighter, and that was making Brandon just throw one shot at a time, 2 shots. It wasn't until he decided no, either we're going to throw at the same time or I'm going first, when he started to really come with the volume. So yeah, I think that could disrupt his game. Don't know if there's any point in a takedown. I think this I don't know if either guys want to threaten with that. I just don't see Moreno going there, but
Moreno's a damn good he's damn good jiu-jitsu. Like, not just better than average, like damn good jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
so
super crafty. So your official decision, you're also going
I'm gonna say the same as you. I think I think that he might, I think Moreno in like the third or fourth could get to put multiple shots together and maybe get Kai Kara France down and just kind of but I just don't, we haven't seen or at least I haven't seen personally him in that situation to know if how he's going to get out of that. So hopefully he's more of a Volk than a Brad Riddell in that in that situation. But I think you and I have we can never just separate each other with an alternating opinion for whatever reason. I think I see him getting the majority decision.
All right, so we can put a bow on that one and move on to the showcase fight of the night, the third fight from the top. This for me, believe it or not, is the toughest one to pick. I can't.
Yeah.
I like Derek Lewis versus Sergey Pavlovich. I've looked into some of Sergey Pavlovich's highlights. You don't need to watch a lot of them because he does the same thing.
Right.
The dude's a fucking machine. He is Ivan Drago on every single PED or PED. Like the dude's, it's crazy. 15-1. Seems to have a good gas tank, but he doesn't have too many instances where he's gone to a decision to really make him test it. Let me take a look and see how many decisions he has in his record. I feel like he hasn't. I looked at it a while back, but I need to refresh.
This is an evil matchmake. Like, this is an evil one. Like
three decisions. 3 decisions to his name, and those were. Well, I'm not going to look and see where they were at in his career.
Yeah,
this is a tough one because on one end of the stick, you got a guy who's going to come out and do exactly what a Derek Lewis wants, is to come forward and throw, and they're going to collide, and Derek Lewis will probably want to back him up against the fence. That's where he seems to do his best work. But then on the other end of the spectrum, we've seen Derek Lewis put out to pasture a few times now, and you kind of got to start to wonder about the durability of that chin. We also know, like, Derek Lewis has made his money in this sport. He's never
comfortable.
He's never been shy about the fact that he's doing this for the money. He's always said that. So you got to kind of wonder. I don't really have a sense for how hungry Sergey is at this point. I'm assuming he is. You know, he's in the sport for a reason, but I know that he's not. He's not pulling in the kind of numbers that Derek Lewis is right now. So he still has a lot to prove. So I can't help but find myself worried.
I think we're gonna
Derek
do it.
Lewis here.
We haven't even talked about this one because you and I both talked about Nunes and Pena because we've had to talk about it.
Yeah, we covered their first fight.
Yeah, and then Kai Kara-France and Brandon Moreno, they've both, like, since we've been doing this, they've both been active, quite active. So we've had chances to talk about them.
Yeah.
And so we kind of know this one is kind of like a random matchup, and we haven't talked about it at all up until this moment, and we're both on the same, like, sharing a fucking same brain right now. Like, and doesn't look good.
Something else I hadn't factored in either is that this is in Texas, and historically,
he just does not do well.
Derek Lewis doesn't bring it in Texas. Let me see. Did he fight Chris Dawkins in Texas? Pull it up. Chris Dawkins. Why did I go to his profile? I should have went to the event. Just a sec. It was a fight night. No, that was at the Apex. So he lost to Cyril Gahn in his hometown. He beat Chris Dawkins at the Apex, and he went back to Texas for the Tai Tuivasa fight, where he got knocked the fuck out in that fight also. So yeah, I'm not picking Derek Lewis in Texas.
Yeah,
that guy does not like to fight at home. He doesn't like the extra pressure. He's said it. He's been completely honest about it. So I'm gonna have to go Sergey Pavlovich on this one.
Second round knockout.
We are crazy, man.
That's crazy. We never even talked about that, and like we're both thinking the same thing.
Okay, so either way, though, I think that's going to be one of the most exciting heavyweight fights that we could look forward to.
That's a good one to put on this card. A lot of people are trashing this card.
I don't know why.
I don't know. I don't get that, and I think like I don't know. I just don't. Even if we weren't coming off of kind of a lackluster card from London to this one, even if it was like a standalone, had UFC was off for a week in this one, I'd be.
You're a printer. You're supposed to print.
There's no way, and I hope I'm not fucking jinxing it and like starting it, but there's no way Kai Kara-France and Brandon Moreno can be not entertaining as
I see what you're
fuck.
Saying. That's going to deliver.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and this fight, there's no way that's not going to end. And these guys aren't going to fucking roll around and try to get each other's back, or maybe a toe hold. There's nothing like that's going to happen. There with Lewis, there's always that he's thrown up some stinkers, but it's not I don't ever think it's really his fault as much as it's been guys that don't want to get hit by him. And I haven't seen anything where Pavlovich is like, I'm not gonna fucking go in there and throw a fucking like end this shit right now. So
yeah. Sergey Pavlovich fights like he's on meth.
Yeah,
he fights like he knows how to fight, but he also did meth right before the fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard.
Or is fighting to get more meth, like he's coming down.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to picture him not bringing a fight. Yeah, and I agree. Like I've seen the same. Like just looking at comment sections of on Instagram of whenever this card's mentioned by some of the pages that we follow, and I have been seeing that also too. It's like, oh, it's a weak card. I'm like, what? I guess like naturally the headliner being a WMMA fight is already going to turn off a certain like significant part of the fan base, sort of, but I mean, at the same time, we know what Amanda Nunes brings to the table. You have to be pretty checked out.
Yeah, she's not a grappling champion. She can grapple the fuck out of anyone, but she's known for fucking, some wild ass fucking finishes against some wild ass ladies, and so, like, who's to say that? And then I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Like I was getting like usually by Tuesdays is when the pay-per-view's up, you start getting, and then the first embedded was today, so you start getting like the motor starts to like warm up for the pay-per-view, and it was like, man, this is gonna be a good one. Like I call France, and then oh man, Pavlovich and Derek Lewis. I forgot Derek Lewis was on this one. And
I did too.
I was on this one.
Yeah,
and
I
so
saw
just
some.
Like, ooh.
I saw some people saying like, "Oh, this card will be lucky if it gets 100,000 pay-per-view buys." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I feel like that they literally wouldn't be saying that if Brandon Moreno Kai Kara France was the headliner and Derek Lewis Pavlovich was the co-headliner for whatever reason.
Right.
I mean, obviously that wouldn't be the case, but I don't know. I guess I do have to just chalk it up to women's fight being and the title, or it could just be like a large contingent of like really new fans who are just jumping on the bandwagon right now because of Patty Pimlet maybe going online and expressing their thoughts when they really don't know what the fuck is going on.
And then plus too, it's been like fucking like blowing load after load after load of like Nick Diaz, Hamza Chimaev. Oh my god, for these fight, and then like the Abu Dhabi card is just like, it looks wild. Like Mateusz Gamrot and Benny Dariush got put on that, and it's like, okay, but any other that gets other card, and you're just like, Jesus fucking Christ. And then Charles fucking, and we just like, there's this like fight after fight after fight's been put on. So I think maybe there's a little bit of fatigue of just like, maybe a lot of fighters are not fighters but fans have seen these like huge cards, and like why can't every card be Abu Dhabi in December or in October? And it's like, dude, this is a damn good. I mean, what were you expecting?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's interesting too, because I kept forgetting that UFC London wasn't a pay-per-view. I mean, even though there wasn't a title fight on it, like it had that pay-per-view feel. Like it didn't feel like a fight night. And I guess when you look at this card and say like, well, this is a pay-per-view, like people do have to reach into their wallets to watch this card. Unless they don't know about
outside
streams,
of,
but
Curtis Blades legitimately probably won't fight for a title for 2 years, as good as he is. And he was the closest to a title shot on that London card. This one literally has 2 title shots. And I mean, Uncle Ivan's pretty close. You know what I mean? Like if he can come out and, put together a good win, he puts himself right back up there to contention at least.
Yeah. So
it's like, what do you guys want, dog? Like,
yeah, this card has intrigue all over the main card too. Like, and even in the Alexandre Pantoja versus Alex Perez fight, like,
oh, that's a good one.
Pantoja could just as easily be in there with Brandon Moreno in the co-main event of this card. Like, I think he deserves a title shot. He's probably not going to get one till after, because obviously interim title fights.
Up.
Yeah, like interim title fights are like the way that the UFC basically guarantees someone a title shot. Like you can never just believe them when they say like, yeah, win this fight, you'll be the number one contender. Like they've told guys that before, and it just doesn't come to fruition. But when they were throwing an interim belt on the line, that's pretty much telling you that, you know. But yeah, that's a guy who is, I mean, on Tapology, he's ranked number 5, and we have 2 and 3 of that division fighting in the co-main event. So it's always,
you weren't going to get anything like that in this last London card. Like, not even close. Like Curtis Blades was the highest rated. The highest rated ranked fighter, and he's just like years away from a title shot. So
yeah,
it's just such a fickle like fan base.
Yes,
is like to really hate on this. You know?
When you look at the rankings, you bring up the rankings that on this card for UFC 277. Every of the main card, the 5-fight main card, everybody is in the top 15 of their division.
Yes,
which is pretty impressive. Like Julianna Pena, number 1 versus Amanda Nunes. This is actually very shocking to me. I'm looking at Amanda Nunes on Tapology right now, and they have her number 5.
Wild.
I don't know why that's.
What?
I'm gonna assume that's a typo because she should be number 2.
It has to be. Yeah.
But that's number 1 versus number 2. And the next fight with the flyweights interim championships, it's number 2 versus number 3. The heavyweights, number 6 versus number 13. Back to the flyweights, number 5 versus number 8. And then light heavyweights with Magomed Ankalaev versus Anthony Smith. It's number 4 versus number 6. So all of these fights, save for the heavyweight fight, have potential contendership implications moving forward. And I think that's
if Anthony Smith comes out and like fights like a fucking animal, well, he can. If he comes out and just fucking humiliates Ankalaev, he can say like, who's going to tell him he's not in the contention for a light heavyweight title shot?
Absolutely.
Like, who's going to tell him he can't?
He will at the very least be fighting either Glover or Jan Blachowicz after this. You know, he's on the 3-fight win streak right now. And I mean, Rakic is out of the picture for a little while. They haven't decided if Jiri's going to get the rematch with Glover or if he's going to fight Jan in some little obscure town on the border of Czechoslovakia and Poland. So
where it's like not even legal yet.
Yeah. Like either of these guys. For sure, Ankalaev will kind of emerge as a contender if he wins, even though a lot of people aren't really too thrilled with his fighting style. But anytime you get one of the Magomeds in, you know, like the game that he brings to the table at light heavyweight, like I'm just glad that they have that presence there. He
hasn't looked great, but you go back and look at he has the potential to like put on a show. So. And not a fucking, you know, K1, you know, Grand Prix fight show, but he can, for someone who enjoys MMA, he can fucking handle business for you.
Yeah. So we will wrap up for 277 with the main 3 fights because I want to keep it a little bit shorter. We're already at the 1 hour 30-minute mark. We don't have to break the fights down, but if you want to just give your picks for the remaining 2 fights, Pantoja versus Perez and Ankalaev versus Smith.
I'm taking I think Ankalaev wins by decision, and I think Pantoja gets a TKO.
I think Pantoja gets a submission, and I'm in the same with Magomed Ankalaev. But yeah, did we pick the same fucking fights all?
We did.
Yeah, up and down the card. We did it again. There's
nothing. Yeah. Feast or famine, dude. I mean, it's cool though. It's cool. I mean, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I keep telling myself that too. I keep thinking like, man, I wonder if that's even entertaining. Like, because like some of them are entertaining. Like, in any sports is when one guy has like a stupid fucking opinion and then the other guy just hates the other guy's opinion. They're just like going back and forth, and then, you know, deep down they probably are thinking the same, but I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean,
yeah, and I don't think either of us are really going to turn into Skip Bayless and what's the other guy
Yeah.
who's on that show?
Shannon Sharp.
Shannon Sharp. Yeah, like those guys are just like wired to give a stupid take for the sake of arguing. And
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we'll get there someday. I have some pretty stupid takes, but I don't know if I'm ready to share them.
No, I have nothing but stupid takes. So.
Well,
I'm over here like writing fan fiction for a man in Nunes. Like,
I've done it. I've been there.
Yeah.
Hell, I've tried to manufacture like certain outcomes.
Yeah.
I was working very hard to keep Tatiana Suarez out of the strawweight division as long as Joanna was fighting,
right?
Because you just had to keep her away from Tatiana Suarez. I couldn't let that happen. But before we wrap up, I do want to. You mentioned it a little earlier. I do want to touch on a lot of the fights that have been added to this UFC 280 card. This card is a hardcore's delight too. Like I'm worried, like, and it seems like people online recognize that also. Like people are fucking drooling for this card because the last time we brought it up, it was just Oliveira versus Makhachev. Maybe Sterling Dillashaw had been added to the card, but I don't think we talked about it. But since the last time we spoke, it is Oliveira versus Makhachev. I don't even got to explain why that fight's amazing. Aljamain versus TJ Dillashaw, another great fight. I'm a little sad that it's not Jose Aldo. I really think they should have just got him in there, gave him a shot.
Should have just did it.
But a lot of intrigue here.
If you put that, if they knew that the card would pan out like this, and then you had Sterling Aldo, and then just a poster would have been like, what in the world is that?
Yeah, dude. Bilal Muhammad versus Sean Brady. They have no respect for Bilal Muhammad, man. Like, and Bilal's and Bilal's a G too for taking this fight because it seems like it's like always one step forward, two steps back for him in terms of like who he's matched up against. Like this dude is really having to take the hardest route through the division. But I think he'll emerge the better fighter for it, you know.
Like that meme where it's like, "Why do you keep giving me your toughest challenges?" And it's like you literally just have to take a shower. Like now, like when he prays to God, God is like, "I'm sorry, dog." Like Dana White's a fucking piece of shit, dude. Like there's nothing I can do.
My brother in Christ, you are unattractive.
My brother in Christ, like try and look to the left with the same eye. Like,
with or without the shades. Now I know why I'm blocked on Instagram from Bilal Muhammad. Peter Yan versus Sean O'Malley. They're signing Sean O'Malley's death sentence, but that's still a crazy fucking fight.
Lot of respect for Sean O'Malley, dude, because he's doing what he said. You can do nothing but respect a man for living up to his word. He's like, you don't want to fucking pay me?
Yeah.
I'll fucking fight. But you don't want to pay me? I'm not gonna fight these guys. And then they paid him. What'd he do? I'm gonna fucking fight these guys.
He showed up.
So and like he's fighting that guy.
And I mean, if he goes out there and makes a statement, and I mean, beats Peter Yan in any way, he won't. But if he did, though,
because there's that
Sean
first
O'Malley
round with Peter Yan. There's the first round.
He's a slow starter.
It's the slow. Why he does that? Who knows? He's done it almost every fight that I've seen of Peter Yan, where he kind of just comes out a little slow. It's not that he can't, or it's just maybe he's just wired that way, or what it is. But there'll be a shot for him to if he comes out going crazy in the first round, he could maybe catch him.
Yeah, I mean, and then it being a 3-round fight, also, you know, there's some guys where you just conditioned seeing them in 5-round fights that it's almost hard. You got to wrap your head around.
He's like Peter Yan's built for a 5-rounder, and O'Malley doesn't seem like he is.
So that's an interesting one. Beneil Dariush versus Mateusz Gamrot. This is like the most interesting fight of the night for me. Because I don't think that this is going to be a tough one for Gamrot too. Like this is a pick 'em fight for me, basically.
And for the people that hate this card, you won't have that problem that you have with this card with that card, because they just won't have ladies on this one.
But they do.
Do they really? Who's on
Yeah.
this one?
Oh, they've added two. These are two of my favorite fights here too. So I mean, before that,
Oh no! Yes. Oh Jesus Christ! Yes. Why did I forget that? They did add that one.
Marina
Rodriguez. Yes.
and Amanda Lemos, which is
Just get over it. Like the Sultans are just gonna have to like turn for a second and like let these ladies get down.
That is a just bleed WMMA fight.
That
there.
is badass.
I'm surprised
Of
Marina
all of
Rodriguez accepted it.
I'm surprised female fighters are on. Like they do not like seeing like women fight, right?
You know what? I didn't catch the joke you were making just when I said that they added these two fights. But you're right. I am kind of.
They're not going to be able to drive over there.
They can stay in the bubble.
They're not going to be able to sit in the front seat on the way, but they'll fight.
I would have to pull up the past Abu Dhabi fights, but I mean, I'm sure they've had women fight there already, but I don't remember.
Yes, Island they have.
Like
Fight Island they have, but Abu Dhabi.
Oh, you're right. I mean, this is at Etihad Arena.
Alice Latest wore a wig, I think.
Alice Latest. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. And then also, Caitlin Chikagian versus Manon Fiorot got moved.
That's a good one.
So they're not going to be fighting in Paris after all, which is interesting. Like I would have figured, do you want to keep Manon Fiorot on Paris? But if they want to add it to this card, be my fucking guest, dude. Because for that to be the opening fight of the night, like that's insane. So yeah, that's a really, really good one. I want to do something special when we roll around, when it's time to do the pre-fight breakdown show for that card, because that's a tent pole like event right there for sure.
Full disclosure, so my son's birthday is October 6th, so that was when he was born, and they did it Abu Dhabi style. That was Connor and God damn it, and Habib. And I watched the fight, like holding him, and watched the fight on my phone in the hospital.
Oh shit!
And so my wife is like, "Oh, we're going to Disneyland for Aaron's birthday," and I was like, "Oh, nice! So the 6th, like I'll be." And she's like, "But we couldn't find tickets, so we're going on the 21st. And we'll drive back the 22nd." And then I straight up looked her dead in her face, and I was like, "Okay, Disneyland for the kid's birthday is great. We're leaving at 7 a.m. so I can get my stupid ass home, so that like I can throw some food on and watch this fucking fight."
Yeah.
So we're going to Disneyland on a Friday so that I can watch the fucking UFC on Saturday.
Just make a detour, have her drop you off in Orange Cove, and then she can go.
Yeah,
yeah.
Farmersville. We'll find somewhere in Farmersville.
Yeah. Come watch the fights with me, right up fresh off the road.
There you go. Swamp ass, all fucking road ass.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll be salivating over that one, and of course we'll give it all the fight plug treatment and do full coverage of that fight, pre-fight, post-fight, all of that good stuff. Until then, we're gonna put a bow on this episode. Thanks for joining me again. Enjoy the fights this weekend.
If you want us to do a GoFundMe to send Kenny to Abu Dhabi, put us or Ephraim to Abu Dhabi. Put it in the comments. Should we start a GoFundMe where we come up with some weird angle to get Kenny to fly to Abu Dhabi? We'll do it.
Take me to Etihad Arena. Let's do it.
Yeah.
UFC 280. I want to be in attendance. I want to be sweating cage side.
And we'll even get him. We'll even get him the full garb, the prince garb, like everything. Like that would be so sick to see. Dude, you would look good in that.
Yeah, if for nothing else, I want to be there to confront Bilal Muhammad and force him to unblock me on Twitter.
Fucking coward.
No, I actually totally. No, I wouldn't. I would want to, if I because with press passes, post-fight press conference. Hey, Bilal.
Well, UFC press conferences though, they have that like pre-fight, right? Like where they let the fans ask. For
those for like really, really big cards. That's when you get those situations for like the Conor McGregor like pre-fight press conferences. They got the dude in the pink suit coming out talking shit and stuff. Yeah,
in that part of the world, they'd be like, why did they ask him if he should unfollow Bilal Muhammad? Straight to jail.
Yeah, no, they play fast and loose with what you're allowed to say,
human rights,
who you're allowed to say things to over there. So maybe I will keep that one in the chamber.
Yeah.
Either way, it's been a fun episode. Thanks for joining me again. Brandon, as always, everybody, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss any of our content, and we will see you next time. Have a good night.